What's good, Atlanta? This is the Blog and Dirty podcast, where Dirty Bird is the word if you haven't heard. I'm your host, John Buhler, lead writer for FanSided. Got an exciting show for you guys today, coming to you semi-live on Christmas Eve from Virginia Highland in Atlanta. My fiance and I are going to have my dad come over. My sister and brother-in-law are out of town, did Christmas with my mom yesterday, but be sure to have a happy holidays, with all your loved ones and your family the next couple of days. Just kind of take it easy here, but it is Wednesday. This is the time of the week where I effectively preview the Falcons games, and then I'll be coming to you guys semi-live after the Monday Night Football game between the Falcons and the Rams. Again, this is an Atlanta Falcons podcast for the FanSided site Blog and Dirty. I'm John Buhler. I predominantly cover college football, but I'm a diehard Atlanta Falcons fan, for better or worse, or even worse than that. But, before we begin, be sure to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, give this thing a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere there's podcasts. Blog and Dirty Bird Nation, you've been fantastic in helping this show grow. I can't wait to see what we can do here in 2026 when maybe the team's good again. So, let's get started here with our first run of the day. And, it was announced last night that Bijan Robinson, hold on, I got to make sure I spelled that wrong. I'm going to type this up. That's not how you do that. Yeah. Bijan Robinson and Chris Lindstrom earned their first Pro Bowl, earned Pro Bowl nods, Pro Bowl game nods there. I had the J and the I all mixed up on there. So hopefully I didn't misspell anything. Again, it's, trying to copy and paste whatever it is to different screens. You know how that goes. But Bijan Robinson's emerged as one of the best running backs in the NFL. He is so hard to tackle. He's so good in between the tackles. He can take a 5-yard loss and turn it into a 7-yard gain. He's that special of a player. We're watching the next LaDainian Tomlinson, Marshall Faulk, you name it, in real time. Chris Lindstrom, who I've kind of picked on a little bit this year for some holding penalties, he continues to be one of the best guards in football. This is his 4th honor thus far. And it seems as though both guys are effectively on a Hall of Fame trajectory. Robinson probably more so because he's at the top of the mind of everybody in the league. But with Lindstrom, he's been as good as an offensive interior lineman of anybody in the league for the last 5, 6, 7 years. There may be more guys on the Falcons who get in as alternates. Again, I don't know exactly how this all shakes out. But, when there's more and more people taking part in the playoffs, you're going to end up having players on teams who are either out of it or, didn't make it. They're going to be represented there. And again, the Pro Bowl doesn't necessarily mean as much as it once did. There's no actual game. It's kind of more of a skills competition. Again, it's for the fans, but again, this is not for me. This is for the younger crowd. This is how you make new fans. And I think also this is a way to kind of show, okay, you're some of the best players in the league. You kind of get to, cross paths with guys that you don't play pretty often. And then more importantly, this is an opportunity to effectively recruit for people that are prospective free agents here. And I think, the Falcons have done some stuff right, not a lot right, but they're building something, I guess. But whatever they're doing, Bijan Robinson and Chris Lindstrom are most certainly going to be a part of that. I forget whoever said that on 680 The Fan earlier this week, say that the Falcons have to kind of pick and choose between who they're going to pay between Bijan Robinson and Drake London. That's stupid. They're going to pay Pitts, potentially. They're going to pay London, and they're going to pay Robinson. And because, when you draft a first-round pick, you have a 5th-year option, and you can stagger it. And then the cap, kind of works its way in some capacities. If you draft a first-round pick and he hits, you kind of need to make sure he stays. And exhausted, the rest of his prime with your team. And again, the Falcons have done a pretty good job of drafting the first round in recent years. Look at Lindstrom, Robinson. These are both first-round picks. They all can't be zingers, but the Falcons are hitting more often than not with that pick. I think where they're getting crushed is in the 2nd and 3rd round. Yes, you're elated when you end up getting a guy, later on who ends up being successful, whether that would be Tyler Algier, Drew Dahlman, who's now a Pro Bowler for the Bears. You get what I'm saying, Grady Jarrett, Brandon Dorlus, but you can't whiff on your 2nd and 3rd round picks. You got to be more locked into day 2. And I think maybe Atlanta's going to do that. Again, first-round picks this year, Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. really being able to get after the quarterback. Same with Brandon Dorlus. But again, these two guys are going to the Pro Bowl again. I think they were both there last year. This is Robinson's 2nd nod and Lindstrom's 4th. And we'll see who else also potentially joins them there in due time. I don't think it's going to be just them. There may be some other alternate or somebody else who gets the call here and there. But again, there's 2 weeks left of the regular season. You've got 14 teams who are going to be taking part of the playoff. I believe 10 of the 14 spots have been decided. Off the top of my head, let's see if I can do this. I think the AFC, the 5 teams that are in for sure are the Patriots, the Bills, the Jaguars, the Chargers, and the Broncos. And in the NFC, I believe it's the Bears, Eagles, Seahawks, 49ers, Rams, maybe, Packers. I don't know, someone like that. NFC, I'm not as clear. I only know is the NFC South is not decided. It's going to come down to Carolina and Tampa Bay. And we'll see what happens, in the coming weeks with that all set up. Anyway, I think Tampa Bay and Carolina lost. I'm gonna see if I get this. Bucks Panthers. I don't really remember. Oh yeah, Carolina did win. Tampa basically needs to win their final 2 games again. They're 7-8. Carolina's 8-7. They play again on the 4th. We got somebody else in between. So again, the Falcons, they're coming off of a road victory over the Arizona Cardinals. They've improved to 6-9 on the season. They've got the LA Rams coming to town on Monday Night Football, and then they end the year on a relatively short week on, I think, the 4th versus the delightful New Orleans Saints. So maybe we have a chance to be 8-9. Probably going to be a 17 Arthur split. Let's hope we're not 6-11. That's really what we're kind of working with here. But congratulations to Bijan Robinson and Chris Lindstrom for earning their Pro Bowl nods. So let's move on to our second run of the day, our second thing that I'm feeling pretty confident about. Because of who the opponent is and because of their ties to the LA Rams, I think there's a chance that Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson may level up on Monday night. So this leads me to believe that Atlanta's not going to get coached out of the building. I think that they're going to show up and they're going to be a little more locked in than they have been in weeks past. Because you got to remember, Raheem Morris was the defensive coordinator on Sean McVay's staff prior to coming to Atlanta. They had that connection there, with Kyle Shanahan and Mike Shanahan and all them on the 2013 Washington team. Zach Robinson was still playing at that point or holding a clipboard at that point. And I think he was like the quarterback's coach there for the Rams prior to coming to Atlanta. So again, there's a lot of ties there. Also, the Rams have, our first round pick for next year, based on the James Pierce Jr. trade. So it's really, really, really important for the Falcons to come out here and give the Rams everything they've got. Not to say that they're necessarily going to do that, because I think the Rams are like a cluster of 4 or 5 teams that I think can realistically win the Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford's playing at MVP level. Sean McVay is at the top of his game. Rams, I faded them at the start of the year. I'm like, this is the last year they're going to be good, and then they're going to hit the fan. And that still might. But, with our pick, we're going to basically we're effectively giving the Rams their replacement to Matthew Stafford if they feel so inclined. They may move back. They may trade back. Again, Les Snead, it's all about FM picks. Again, and he also has Falcons ties because he was Thomas Dimitrov's right-hand man before taking over there in St. Louis well over a decade ago. It's been a while. But I think about this with Raheem Morris. Think about the places he's coached. Like, besides the Falcons, what are the 3 organizations that immediately come to mind where he's been a part of? He was a previous head coach of the Buccaneers. After that failed, he then kind of reinvented himself a little bit, or began the process of doing so with Washington on Mike Shanahan's staff. Prior to coming to Atlanta, he had been the defensive coordinator on the Super Bowl champion LA Rams in 2021. Who beat the Bengals, with Aaron Donald and all them. Leonard Floyd was part of that team. So every time I think Raheem Morris goes up against one of those teams, we've seen it with the Bucks, we've seen it with the Commanders, and we may see it with the Rams here. I think he kind of takes those games personally. I think not that he's has bad memories from being in Washington or LA by any means, but these are games where he has some connection to those teams. And even though the Falcons and Rams used to be division rivals back in the day, way before realignment, pre-2002, the Rams used to always kind of dominate us. I mean, them and the 49ers are at the top of the division, and us and the Saints are kind of at the bottom, and this is the Blog podcast. But when I think Raheem Morris, for his limitations as a head coach, where I feel like all things equal, he's going to come up short every time. He's always kind of passive and deferring. Like you can't ever overcome going up against a good head coach, which is why we always get our ass kicked versus the Carolina Panthers because Dave Canales is good and Raheem Morris is not as good. But when you're effectively going against like a team that you have strong ties to, maybe play up a little bit more. Maybe you're a little more fired up to be there, so to speak. And I think Zach Robinson, maybe that is it too. I mean, again, I know he played for the Patriots, kind of went the PFF route. I think he kind of got going with the Rams. So because like they're going up against their former boss Sean McVay and everything like that in a big stage, a standalone primetime game that can't get flexed because that's how Monday Night Football works. You're going to see these two coaches do everything in their power not to embarrass themselves in a major spot. Because let me put it this way. Okay, also I'll bring this up here. So Albert Breer, one of my colleagues at Minute Media for the Sports Illustrated side of the equation, again, he has no idea who I am because he's Albert Breer, and that's what it is. But he reported that the Falcons are using effectively a search firm, like a very loose one, not necessarily like Korn Ferry or anything like that to find the next head coach, but they're kind of looking at the organization top down. Again, the organization's become really screwy in the last 8 or 9 years. Under Arthur Blank, maybe that's consequence of him getting older. Maybe that's him having undying faith in Rich McKay for some unbeknownst reason. There's been some sort of disconnect throughout the entire process. And, if the Falcons look poorly, if they play poorly and they're coached horrendously versus the Rams, that might be the straw that breaks the camel's back in terms of them moving on from this regime, whether that be, Raheem Morris, Zach Robinson, Terry Fontenot, Jeff Ulbrich, whomever else you want to throw into that, Marquise Williams, whoever else you want to throw into that pot. But if you win, Arthur Blank will be like, oh, we won like 3 of our final 4 games or our last 4. We're really carrying a lot of positive momentum in there. And Raheem Morris will just schmooze and pander like he's a Clinton or something like that. And we'll be back with him again in 2026. Truth be told, for as much as I've been like this coaching staff is pitiful at times and has ultimately cost us a playoff spot and a division title that we're probably ready to compete for, this is the worst head coaching cycle I can ever remember in the NFL. It's really good in college. It's so bad in the NFL that people are trying to court, like the Giants are trying to court Marcus Freeman away from Notre Dame Fighting Irish. That might work, but that just shows how desperate it is. I don't know what the Giants or the Titans are going to do. But again, as it is every year, there's going to be between 5 and 8 jobs opening up. Maybe more, probably not. This is a very, very weak cycle for it. But I'm kind of the belief that they'll probably run it back one more year with this regime, and we'll see what they do. And I don't know if I can really deal with that for another year. But they brought in a search firm to look at things because it's really important. A bunch of effing hot dogs in this suit, just looking you in the eyes, making sure you give a good handshake, and you're not processing anything they're saying. Just the ultimate salesman tactic. I'm just so sick of it. I'm so like, can we get people in here who actually like know what winning looks like and how and aren't blown away with all this impressionable BS? I'll swear there. But because of the Rams, where it comes on the schedule, I would venture to guess we'll see Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson hold up their own in the coaching department. We'll see how the players do. The Rams are really good. Falcons, very mediocre. And let's get on to some pass. I'm going to pass for this the second half of our show. I don't think Sean McVay's LA Rams are going to overlook the Falcons despite their record. Again, we mentioned the ties that the Falcons and Rams have with one another. We know that Matthew Stafford played his college football up the road in Athens at Georgia. We know that Les Snead, cut his teeth, in the front office here in Atlanta in the 2000s. We know that Sean McVay, even though he hasn't really been here since he was 18, he did play his high school football at Marist as an option quarterback and won Georgia High School Player of the Year in 2004 over a guy named Calvin Johnson who went to Georgia Tech and to start for the Lions. There's also the fact that like there's still so much to be played here for the I'm gonna look at this up real quick. Basically, with like the NFL standings, like there's still so much to be had. Okay, like I said, the Seahawks, 49ers, and Rams have all clinched playoff berths in the NFC, as have the Bears, as have the Eagles. Eagles have actually clinched the division. Cardinals 3-12. They're awful, but the 49ers and Rams have won 5 in a row. I think they're probably the hottest 2 teams in the in the NFC. God, looking at the Giants have lost 9 in a row. That's unbelievable. Bucks have lost 3, and the Saints have won 3. Saints are 5-10. Saints are a lot better than I thought they'd be. So maybe we finish in last place. If we don't beat them, we lose out. That's very much within the realm of possibility. Don't rule that out for a second. But because the Rams, they're a game back to the Seahawks in division. They got something to play for. They obviously want to try to win the divisional crown. Otherwise, I mean, you're looking at the 6th seed, maybe 7th seed. Again, I don't know who. I would venture to guess how it's going to shake out. You're looking at the last 2 playoff spots in the NFC are going to either go to the Bucks or the Panthers, and whoever wins the NFC South. And then it's going to come down to either the Detroit Lions or the Green Bay Packers for the last wild card spot. Again, I think those are the only teams that are still technically in it. I mean, maybe the Vikings are. I think the Vikings have been eliminated from the postseason, but who cares? We beat them. Sucks to be them. But yeah, the Rams are going to be fired up to play this game. Even though, it's a road game, it's Monday night and everything like that. They were kind of banking on winning this game at the start of the year to have the season that they think they're going to have. And, I'm trying to think who the Rams play after us. LA Rams. They'll play a divisional opponent. So they've got kind of an easy break here. They're on the road at the Falcons on Monday night. And then they get the lowly Cardinals at home on January 4th. So I would say this, look, you need to win this game for the Falcons if you want to have any hope of winning the division. And then obviously the 49ers and the Seahawks play each other. And again, that could get a little more jumbled up here in week 18. But look, this game is incredibly important for the Rams for playoff positioning. It also impacts our draft pick. They want to beat the Falcons to get a better pick or a better asset that they could trade conceivably. So, even though you're sitting here thinking, okay, why is this game on Monday Night Football? This feels like this should be a 1 o'clock kick on Fox with their 4th team, because that's kind of what the Falcons have been. I don't think the Rams are going to mail it in. They can't afford to. They've lost. Falcons are riding low momentum. And again, we haven't seen the Falcons win 3 in a row in a very, very long time. Winning streaks aren't something that we do. I mean, it's really hard to have multi-week winning streaks when you haven't had a winning record in about the better part of a decade now. But I think the Rams will be locked in here. But I also think the Falcons will be. So maybe we'll see a highly competitive game. Or it may just be, a tarring and feathering like the Seahawks do, where Mike McDonald just beats the snot out of us. Why the hell did we not hire him? He went to Centennial High School in Georgia. He went to Michigan. He was with the Ravens. What are we doing? What are we doing? Oh my God, Falcons. Maybe we did do that search firm. And, let's get out of here with some punt here. Let's make a pick against the spread versus the LA Rams on Monday Night Football. Yeah. I messed that out. I had that up here. Okay, so we're looking at the latest odds here on FanDuel Sportsbook. I figured this is the best way to look at this. Scrolling down, and around, and sure we're going down swinging. Okay. So on Monday night, 8:16 start, because that's how they do this here on FanDuel. It's absolutely mind-boggling. The LA Rams are laying 8.5 on the road at the Falcons, meaning the Falcons are getting 8.5 points at home. The associated money lines have the Rams at minus 430, meaning you have to bet $430 to get 100 on the Rams. And with the Falcons, it's plus 340, meaning if you bet 100, you get $340. The over-under here is 49.5. I think because it's well coached, you are going to see a lower scoring game. So I'm going to take the under here to start. And I don't think the Falcons win. I think there's too much urgency with the Rams. I would be kind of stunned to see us win win 3 in a row. I mean, granted, you play the Buccaneers and the Cardinals, and that's kind of what you're expecting to do here. This is the game in the Final Four of the season that I was like, I don't know if the Falcons are going to win. But I think that, you're looking at a final score 24 Rams, 20 Falcons. So that's 44 points, a little bit under there. You're kind of looking at, maybe a missed field goal there by Zane Gonzalez to kind of opens the door for the Rams. You're looking at potentially a defensive score by the Falcons that really kind of makes this game closer. And in the end, Matthew Stafford's going to play at an MVP level. and deliver the touchdown strike to get past the Falcons in the final minute. And it'll kind of be very vintage Falcons. Expect a very vintage Falcons game on Monday night. Expect me to be acting a certain way that usually is after the games. Again, like I'll be coming to pretty much right after that because there's no Steelers, there's no Jets game, there's no cross contamination of restream here. So like I'll be able to do that quite easily. Probably not going to be the same sort of thing there, on the 4th. We'll do semi-live after the Saints game as well. But I don't know. I feel like with the Falcons, like you're looking at a team that's probably 7-10. You're 6-9 now. You probably lose this Rams. You beat the Saints. That'd be good. But then again, I don't know. Like, do you really want to bring the same staff back? Oh, we're in such a pickle right now. We're gonna get a vintage Falcons game. Can't wait. Absolutely cannot wait for that. And this was episode 73 of the Blog and Dirty Podcast. You can follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter or the X at Buhler118. You can follow along with the show on X at Blog and Dirty. You can follow along on YouTube at Blog and Dirty FS. Like, rate, listen, subscribe, review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere there's podcasts. Give us a 5-star review. Really helps the show grow. Again, we're on the good side of 350 subscribers. I'd love to get us up to about 500 before the start of next year. And then at that point, maybe we can monetize. Maybe get some more ad revenue, more really cool shows, more investments. I know you guys love digging the shorts that I have in the back, but I don't have the ability to do that. I'm a writer, not really an editor. I do as best as I can in the back end with production, but like the more subscribers we get on the show, the more opportunity we're going to have for more content, more cross promotion, more opportunities for you and I and everybody. I mean, I know this is year 2 of me doing this, and I appreciate getting to know each and every one of you. Again, be safe out there. Have a Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. I don't know if Hanukkah's still going on. Kwanzaa's coming up. Boxing Day, New Year. But just it's hectic out there. Try not to drive. Try not to be out in public. Again, my fiance works in retail, so best of luck to Rosemary and the fine jewelry department there with that. So yeah, we gotta. I mean, it's gonna be fun. It's been an interesting year, and again, like we've seen some really high highs here with the Atlanta Falcons. We've also seen some pretty bad lows. Had a couple of really cool wins, had a couple of not really cool losses, and but eventually this team's going to turn it around. I don't know how old I'm going to be by that point. I don't know if we're still going to have a planet by that point, but I'm going to keep doing this show for as long as you and FanSided and everybody at Minute Video will still have me. Once again, thanks for listening, and this is the Blog and Dirty Podcast.